truth, guys. You may not like it.
How does that work? How are satellites fake?
Satellites.
How are satellites?
Okay, we've never seen a photograph of a satellite. Everything, if you Google satellites in space, they're all artwork. They're all CGI. So we don't actually have any evidence of these things being in space. But this is just pointing out that the temperature is meant to be thousands of degrees there. We don't have materials that can
Space is
withstand
cold.
it. Yeah, I agree, but not according to science. They say that it's over thousands of degrees up there. But yeah, it's a lot of disinformation. So the few satellites that do exist are on a helium balloon system, and they've been doing that for 60 years. They put them on a helium balloon. We've seen them being launched. They can take a 5-ton satellite and float it in the air for months on a helium balloon. NASA is the biggest buyer of helium in the world.
Yeah.
And we've seen them crashing into the jungles of South America and so on, and they look exactly like what a satellite would look like. But they're on a balloon. So the data industry...
But how are they getting the balloon that high if the atmosphere is so thin to be able, so we can't see it from the naked eye? Yeah, but helium, because the particles will get further apart, wouldn't
Yeah, so the balloon, you remember Richard Branson went around the world in a helium balloon?
Yeah, but that would have been, we could have seen that by the naked eye because it was in our
I
atmosphere.
don't think so. I don't think so, but I do think that people do see some
Well, you
of
see
these
a hot
things.
air balloon going up, don't you?
Yeah, but we're talking about 1 mile. That would be high. I'm talking about hundreds of miles or 50 miles. Perhaps.
But the thing is, the balloon would pop.
So a 747?
Yeah.
No, you're making excuses. What if I could build a balloon that would stay at that was
But
stronger?
how are you going to build that?
NASA already do that. If you research this for yourself, you'll find that they've got helium balloons that would fill this park. And they're so big once they're launched. Once they get up, once the helium is separated out and so on, they are massive balloons. Massive. And they
But
can
once
hold
they go
these
into
things.
space, because it's actually...
You can't go into outer space.
Why?
You're breaking the law of thermodynamics. Thermodynamics, you understand what that is?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I do.
Yeah. So good.
You're not
Think
breaking the
about it.
law of thermodynamics by going into
Really?
space.
So if I had a two-floor building, right,
Yeah.
and I created a vacuum in the upper floor, and then in the down floor I had a trapdoor, and I opened that trapdoor, what's going to happen?
It will go up.
Exactly.
But that's because we have an atmosphere. That's why that doesn't happen.
But what?
That's why that doesn't
No,
happen.
no, because gas is going to continue going up. If I made that, if I didn't have a roof on that second floor, then it would continue going up.
But the thing is, but it's different for the Earth because space is a vacuum. We have an atmosphere.
Unproven. You're begging the question. You have not proven that. That's not proven. And I used to believe in it, by the way, for most of my adult life.
The equation is.
The equation. Don't give me equations. I need physics. I'm into physics.
This is the physics. The equation.
No, maths is not physics. Maths is a way of explaining how something may work. I mean, I could do the maths if we had to do a quick race between one distance place and another. We could do the maths and work out how fast we were going. Yes.
Yeah.
But to then say, now I can extend that maths into things that you and I cannot test,
Yep.
I have to take it as belief.
So
I'm not
because you
gonna
haven't
debate.
seen it yourself, you don't believe any of it exists. Is what
And
you're saying.
even though you haven't seen it yourself, you believe it exists. So I'm saying the burden of proof is on those who are making the claim. The positive claim rests with you to prove that.
So they run the hotel in space, don't they?
What?
They run a hotel in space. You can buy tickets to go up into space.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. You can buy tickets and go into space.
Oh man, you've been watching too much sci-fi.
So how
That's
would-
not real. Do you know that the Blue
But like
Origin?
how? Okay, so let's say you go on it.
That the Blue
How are they
Origin,
going to fake it to that
you know,
extent?
Richard Branson's, whatever his called it, I can't remember what his was called, but he only got like 5 minutes of like airtime, if you like,
Yeah.
floating time. And same with Blue Origin, you get maybe 10 minutes of 0G. That's as far as we can go.
Okay, so that's
There
as
is no
far as
space-
we can
no,
go.
if
But
that-
that's because it's a plane.
Do you know the International Space Station?
Rests
is-
in our atmosphere.
Yeah, it's not in our atmosphere. It's meant to be 250 miles up. And
Yeah,
according
so
to
that's
the
so that-
science, its common line is about 60 miles up.
But that's so it stays in gravitational orbit. That's so it stays in orbit though.
Yeah, we're
Because
we're
we need
told
to
all
hook
of
it in
these-
orbit,
yeah,
otherwise
we're-
it's
we're
gonna
told
not
all
work.
of these things, but let me tell you that I can show you, if you wanted to look at it, I could show you evidence of how all of the space stuff is either done on harnesses in the Vomit Comet, where they get 45 seconds of 0G, or done by a blue screen. And all of these tricks have been shown how
But so
they're doing them.
okay, so hear me out. So you said it was 10 seconds the flight, yeah?
No, 10 minutes.
10 minutes the flight.
What, Blue Origin?
Yeah, for the flight where we go
You
into
can't
space.
have a hotel in
And
10
experience.
minutes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like, how would that work? How would you explain experiencing zero gravity?
Parabola. So what they do, and they do it with a 747.
Well, so you're going to have a constant parabola, so we're going to be jetting fuel out that whole time?
No.
Because helium wouldn't work at that distance.
Helium? No. Okay, what are we talking about? Why are you talking about helium?
So how are you going to float people? How are you going to get them in zero grav for a couple days?
You can't.
Well, then how does it work?
They don't have that. It's all TV. Well, you show me something, and I'll tell you what's wrong with it.
Yeah, okay.
I know, obviously, it's like if you want to tell a 3-year-old that Peter Pan's not really flying, he's on a wire. They'll say, no, he's really flying.
Yeah, no, I do agree.
Like, who and why would people want to make us believe space?
Same people who want to give us religions that people believe in, so as to control their minds. And I think we're actually souls. We're actually like these eternal souls that are here to be tricked or here to learn about who we really are. And that's the people. So the same people behind the Vatican are the same people behind NASA. Vatican, by the way, is the biggest buyer of telescopes in the world. They buy the biggest telescopes.
Yeah.
They really watch
Because
what's going on.
science and religion is very highly linked.
Yeah, actually, because Big Bang comes from religion. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
No, George Lemaitre. You should do the research. He's a Catholic priest, Jesuit, and he gave us the Big Bang theory. Isn't that funny that the Catholics would give us a theory that really kills their belief in Jesus or God created everything? Crazy, huh?
Oh, that's not
What's
low.
the name of the YouTube
You got a bad signal here, which is why I'm having to record this rather than do it live.
What's the name of the YouTube channel?
Trinity 4. You can take it. It's not live now. I'll put it on later.
Oh, thank you. We're going to have to watch this.
Yeah, you go and check it out. Trust me, when I first found flat Earth, I did like brush it off. But then by then I didn't really know much about the grand deceptions that are happening in so many other elements of our life. This is just one of them. But this truth, once you get through this, you'll realize that there is a superpower here that's trying to mislead you.
But okay, so with your back to your poster really quickly, I still don't understand how you're saying that science is saying that a vacuum has heat.
It's a weird thing, yeah. It's a weird thing because I mean.
But like, where have you found the information that the science has heat?
Well, why don't you do your own research on the exosphere and say, okay, how hot is the exosphere? They will tell you it's that temperature, but because the particles are spread so far apart, it doesn't feel like that.
No, because the exosphere is actually a vacuum at that distance.
Yeah, and if it's just cold, right? This is another weird thing. You have to. I know you'll give me some answer that you've been pre-programmed with, but if the sunlight is traveling for 8 minutes through the vacuum of cold space, how is it still hot when it gets here?
Because it travels as light.
It's got energy, yeah.
It has energy, light energy.
Nice.
Just
it's either cold or it's hot.
The exosphere, I do agree, it is hot. It's 987.
Oh, you agree now?
I do agree it's hot, but that is in our atmosphere. It's just a weak part of our atmosphere.
Right.
Okay.
But things don't melt.
So when we
Ladies,
get
the Earth is
outside
flat.
of the atmosphere, though.
Earth is flat. We don't live on a ball.
They won't just be pure matter.
I don't pay taxes.
Yeah. The Bible is true, man. You know, in Genesis it says God created the earth flat and immovable. He separated waters from waters. They try to make us believe evolution. It's a lie. It's against God. And so is this idea we're on a ball. Check out my info.
Not what they do say, it's what they don't
I'm
say.
still going. Sorry. Okay, so it's 2.7 Kelvin.
Earth is flat.
It's 2.7 Kelvin in space.
Super cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is
So they say-
minus what?
500 or
No,
something?
255 degrees.
Right.
Okay. Minus 255 degrees. So that's not hot. So
No, I agree. But I'm not the one who
like,
said, you agreed with me that the exosphere is
I
that
agree the
temperature.
exosphere is hot.
Well, that's what they say anyway. Of course, we can't test that. What we can test is when we go on a 747, we find that if they've got a thermometer on your screen, it'll tell you it's minus 55. And so when I go down into the ground, I've been 2 miles into the ground, and I find it super hot. It gets so hot we can't mine below 3 miles, so you know that. And it gets super cold. So that's my experience of the world. But I'm meant to suspend my experience of the world and believe that I'm spinning 1,000 miles an hour, and that we've got this
We
vacuum
can't
of
actually
space.
tell if we're not spinning or not because of the fact that the
Sorry,
Earth.
maybe we're not. The claim that we're spinning needs to be proven, and you know, Einstein says we won't find an experiment, optical experiment, they'll prove we are spinning.
We can't find an optical experiment,
Yeah.
but we can find an experiment. There
Show
is
me one. Show me an experiment, other than a Foucault's pendulum, because we're electromagnetic. We're
We are
electromagnetic.
electromagnetic because it spins. That's the only reason we're electromagnetic.
Oh, well, that's why I'm there.
Because we
you
spin.
insulate,
You're
Yeah,
there
it's
because
an
You insulate,
electromagnetic
yeah,
field.
because we're electric beings. And if you insulate yourself like an electric cable, then you actually
Is
never
that why
touch
you're
the earth.
barefoot?
Not because I don't have shoes, but I choose to go barefoot where I can.
Oh, that's cool.
You see on my YouTube, I'm barefoot
I
preacher.
understand going. I understand going barefoot.
No, thank you.
Buy with a basket of what you call
You want some information?
Yeah, sure. Cheers.
Cool. Blew my mind, bro. You look about my age. I was 47 before I found this out, so I went through my whole life believing that I lived on a spinning ball and I was evolved from monkeys. Turns out that's all pseudoscience. None of it can be proven. But you have to rely on government, education, to...
Hey, I'm 100% with you on not believing government, but I'll be honest with you. There's
Well, you know
other-
NASA is government.
Sure.
That's an arm or an extension of the government. It's almost like saying, people say to me, "Oh, I don't believe in the Vatican and the Catholics, but I believe in this part of the Christian religion." It's like, but it's the same shit. It's the same shit. And this idea that evolution and so on, you turn out that the Catholics came up with the Big Bang Theory. It's not even like a scientific thing. It's just a theory. Same with relativity. It's time and space dilation. How do you dilate time and space and float a ball on it? In reality, that doesn't happen. Rocks don't float. And if you fart in a lift, that fart is going to go around the lift, all of it, instantly, almost instantly. But we're meant to believe that for millions of years, these gas giants, thousands of light, or all this distance away, have been flying around. And
Why are you here today? Like,
try
I'm just
and-
curious today.
Yeah, just to try and I do my little bit to try and wake people up a bit. Say, hey, don't trust what you're being told. There is a spiritual element to it. It's not just that I'm saying go to war with the government because they're lying to you about who you are and where you are, and they've got us at war with each other in so many different ways. But actually, that we might be the expression of God, whatever God is. We might be that expression, and we're meant to be learning and growing rather than being restrained, because they talk about evolution, but I think actually that it's a devolution, that we're actually being retarded as we go forward. If you go back 5 generations, young men and people were much more with the land, they were healthier, you didn't see all the sort of illnesses that you see today. But we're becoming sicker and sicker and further from nature, and more pills and needles and AI and everything but nature. Because whatever God is expressed here in the trees and the plants and us.
And you chose to create these graphics and things for yourself. Like, you chose to do this just to come out and say that to people and try and.
I've been doing it for 5 years. I only found out 8 years ago. I found this shit out, and now I go around and try and tell people to, a little bit like the guy Jesus we all get taught about, is to say, hey, stop following the deceivers, because they don't have your best interests at heart. They will siphon your energy off, work you till suck you dry in your good years of your life, and then if you're lucky, you'll get a little pension at the end of it, and maybe play a few rounds of golf. But that's not really what life is meant to be about, being a corporate slave.
I agree with that side. Yeah.
I think we're meant to be our own masters, and as your own master, you should be on your own land, and you should be nurturing things.
I just say well done.
Thank you, and well done you. Did I give you one of these?
Yeah, I think my son got one, but I've
shake
educated
your
my
hand?
son. You can indeed.
What's your name?
Karen.